All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is AM 1160 The Quest, Atlanta's Catholic Radio. You're listening to Honest to God, and I have a lot of coffee in my mustache. It's going to be a great day. Still working on the mustache that I'm refusing to trim.
I think that's good, John.
Forever.
I like it.
I've got the top lip covered. Now I want the bottom. Want it all. Yeah.
So what happens when you eat?
It gets everywhere.
Your goal is just to have it blend seamlessly into the bottom.
Into the beard. Yeah. I don't want you to see my lips when I talk is my goal. And it's interesting that I bring up my mustache because this episode of Honest to God is actually brought to you by Tom Selleck. The whole guy. Turns out that he's been less relevant recently and he's trying to make a comeback. He said, so his first big comeback was the show Friends. Y'all remember that?
I was going to say, when he dated
Rachel,
Monica.
Monica's boyfriend. But now.
That's a show?
Yeah, Friends. Yeah.
Friends, okay.
Yeah.
It's the one where they all sit around the table and there's a cloud of smoke every time they talk.
I think that's that 70s show.
Joke.
This is his second big comeback is on Honest to God.
Wow.
AM Catholic Radio. Turns out, big reach. Tom Selleck's people approached our people, of which we have many here on Honest to God, AM 1160 The Quest, Atlanta's Catholic Radio. And so he's bringing us this episode of Honest to God. He should be coming in the door any minute.
What a cool guy.
He texted me on the way over here, and I have to fill in for him.
Tom!
That's actually why I'm here.
Come on.
Come
on. First
Sorry.
Jeff, now Tom.
Yeah.
Jeff Goldblum?
He was going to be on here
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago.
I had to fill in for
dude.
Jeff Goldblum, too.
Why do they keep backing out?
Well, they fill in with Julian, though. We'll always take Julian.
Yeah.
I mean, the only reason that we
Jeff got
always
caught
take
in
Julian.
actually, I think Tom Selleck got caught in the graduation traffic. That was
Did he?
Graduation at North
Yeah.
Georgia?
in North Georgia.
North
Is that
Georgia.
going on today?
Yeah.
Which actually, that's
That
worth
makes
mentioning.
sense.
If you look out behind me, we're still at our little mountain casita. That's what they call it here. Big Spanish influence here in the North Georgia Appalachians.
Where all of us met.
Whoa! Not only did you guys meet each other like as a couple, we literally met each other, the three of us, for the first time within about 15, 20 miles of where we're sitting right now.
That's
How
right.
cool is that?
On the same day, probably.
Big shout out to Southern Catholic College.
On the same day.
Yeah, because we were in the same class. So yeah, I bet the first time we all saw each other was on the same day.
Probably.
Did you do an SEC Saturday though in high school?
I did.
Was I there?
Was it high school? I thought it was over the summer.
I did the
where we
Eucharistic
camped.
conference.
Yeah. Oh, so you were there for that.
Yeah.
Yes, I was there.
Yeah, I remember that.
What happened to all the buildings? Like, it was a
It's-
college.
It's a
right?
convent now.
Really?
They're all
Nuns
still
live in
there.
them.
That's cool.
Oh,
Except
he
for
doesn't
one.
even know what the college was.
You know what? That should be this episode's topic. Just reminiscing
Catholic?
on Southern Catholic College.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's bring
Are
it
you
back.
sure?
Kind of okay with that. I
Are
think.
you sure?
Maybe a little bit. I think we're going to get into marriage a little bit today too. But yeah, we could talk a little bit. We could talk a little bit
I
about
mean,
Southern
they
Catholic.
kind of go hand in hand since we all met our spouses
Yeah.
Exactly.
at Southern
And
Catholic
a lot
College.
of spouses came out of that.
And a lot of kids. That's what I always
Lot
think
of
about.
kids.
The number of children that exist that wouldn't have if it weren't for that place. And we're going to get started with a prayer in a second, but I just want this. It was the perfect setup. Do you remember Dr. Thigpen talking on the last graduation when it closed down about the dream that he had about Southern Catholic College of this huge wheat field, right? And this beautiful wheat field that represented the college. And then a tornado came through and destroyed it. And he said, and it was really sad. But then I had this image of all these grains of wheat going all over the world and sprouting. And it
look
was
at
beautiful.
that.
I thought that was such a great.
And here we are.
And here we are,
The grains of wheat have sprouted.
here on the side of a mountain in Dahlonega.
In the line.
All right. So we're going to get started. We're going to do one fun fact apiece. But first, let's pray. Rachel, can you
Oh,
handle
you
this?
want me to do it?
You're probably a pro.
I'm probably a pro.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you want me to pray how I normally pray at the beginning of every day?
Yes.
Okay.
I would love that. Whatever that
Really?
is. Yes. Please. do that.
Okay. All right. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Dear Lord, please help me keep it together today and exercise a lot of patience with my husband and my children and John Henry.
Every day.
That we have a fun time and we share lots of great memories and we inspire hopefully a lot of people. Amen.
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 Awesome. The Holy Spirit. Amen. 94. That was a real
my
prayer.
grade?
Is that the best grade you've
That
ever-
might be. That was a real prayer. That was like an actual prayer.
That's
I felt
literally
that.
my prayer
I
every
love
morning.
that. That's a really good prayer. My prayer in the morning is just sort of that stream of consciousness, usually in the shower, waving my hands and whining about a lot. I do. So my order that I do it though in is always I start with thank you. like remind myself of all my blessings because I'm not feeling very blessed in that moment. So I say, thank you, God, for this. I talk about my family. I talk about my bride. I talk about my kids in my house and all that. And then I give the I'm sorries. I do like a little brief examination of conscience. I shouldn't have done this. And I'm sorry about this and whatever. And I end it with the acts of contrition. And then I do all my pleases. I'm like, also, I really need this. Like, I need some help with this. I need some help with that. And, yeah, and it's like all over the place. And then I do like my rote morning prayers. I do the Our Father, Hail Mary, Glory be, Saint Michael, all those pieces. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but no, that was a really good, like legit prayer. I got my wife for Christmas, and this will be out well after Christmas.
I was going to say, is this going to air after Christmas?
Well, obviously, because all of our shows are live, and right now it's after Christmas. And so here it is, Saturday, 4
After
o'clock
Christmas.
after Christmas.
Can't remember the date.
No,
Yeah.
it's tough to remember
after
the dates.
There are
here.
no clocks in here, so
No. Not a lot of people know this, but Lumpkin County outlawed clocks yesterday.
Yes.
They're going to be illegal again tomorrow. And because we're always above board, legally speaking, here on Honest to God, we're abiding by the law. Yeah. Yeah. Did you just clap over there, Show Notes, Benny? Oh, my goodness. It's weird that, and we haven't mentioned this, but the sort of otherworldly Eldritch entity that follows us around and takes show notes, occasionally spasmodic noises come from it.
It's always
rocking it.
fun.
Just to remind us that he's still there.
If he ever was.
If he ever was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're killing it. Thank you, show notes, Benny.
Show notes, Benny.
So yeah, so on this episode, this was sort of like an impromptu episode. You didn't know 10 minutes ago that you were going to be on air right now, Rachel.
Correct.
Julian's always on air. Yeah,
I was
am.
I just assume every Saturday you're like, I'm probably going to be on Honest to God today.
yeah.
And then sometimes you look around and you're on Honest to God. But let's do a little throwback talking about college stuff and then maybe a little marriage stuff. Are we okay with that? Can we do that?
Sure.
I haven't gone through my whole story on this, but I give a lot of talks where I'm pretty open about like what a piece of crap I was when I was in high school and the beginning of college for sure. And so I'm comfortable with that, but I want to talk especially about our college because this might sound like I'm blowing smoke. But I'm not. I'm really being honest. I'm not trying to be sappy. Southern Catholic College like saved my life. If it were not for Southern Catholic College, my life would be radically different. I would probably be much more successful financially and a much worse human being. And I really think that I would. I was not on like a trajectory that Southern Catholic like boosted. I was on just sort of maintain my secular modernist notion of success. And I just accidentally stumbled in by the grace of God to Southern Catholic College that totally changed my trajectory. And that's the reason why I'm such a huge proponent of Newman-less schools and all that. Why'd y'all even go? For those of you who have no idea what we're talking about, Southern Catholic College was a college that existed between 2005 and 2010 in Dawsonville, Georgia. And the three of us went there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a funny story why I went.
I'd love to hear it all the way from Connecticut.
Oh yeah, it's actually a very funny story because I very vehemently did not want to go, and it was a battle to get me to go.
I don't know this story at all. I would love to hear it.
Okay, so I have a lot of siblings. My house was very loud. I was trying to get far away from my house in Connecticut. Well, actually, when I went to high school, I was in Maryland, but I knew we were moving to Connecticut.
Right.
So we moved to Connecticut about 2 weeks after my high school graduation.
Okay.
Back to Connecticut. I'm from Connecticut. Lived in Maryland for 7 years because of my dad's job. I wanted to be far away. I had applied, been accepted, and received a scholarship to a Catholic college in Maine.
Okay.
And I was convinced I was going there because that's what my parents led me to believe until 3 weeks before my high school graduation. I overheard my parents talking in the kitchen while I was upstairs getting ready for school about how they were going to tell me that I could not go to that school
Why?
because they couldn't afford it.
Gotcha.
Even with the financial aid, the scholarship,
Yeah.
tuition was still expensive. So, but that's how I found out was I overheard them talking about it in the
Right.
kitchen as I was getting ready for school one morning, 3 weeks before my graduation. So that didn't go very well. I went downstairs and confronted them, and that was
Right then in the moment.
that was a fun morning.
So
And
you showed them how they were going to tell you.
they ended up in a lot of tears. I was devastated. I wanted to go to that school so bad. I had worked so hard. Like everything that I did college-wise, I pretty much did by myself. All the research for colleges, the application process, the essays. figuring out deadlines. Like I did it all by myself and I was really proud of all the work I had done. And then to find out right before graduation that I couldn't go was a huge blow. I hadn't been accepted to any other school that my parents approved of me going to.
What does that mean?
I had to go to a
Approved of?
Catholic college. I was not allowed to even apply to a college that was not Catholic.
Do they make divisions in Catholic colleges though? Because I really hate about 90% of the Catholic colleges that exist.
I mean, my dad looked up a lot of them and presented them to me. Steubenville was one of them.
Yeah.
But I got waitlisted at Steubenville, so that wasn't an option. There was another school in California that my dad found for me that I didn't get accepted into. There was another school I applied to in Vermont, but there was some issue with the application, so I didn't end up getting everything in on time.
Praise God for all this, by the way.
It worked out
Look at that God thing working
pretty
hard.
well. But I didn't know what to do. I was about to graduate. And I was like, well, now what am I going to do for school? So my dad presented me with a couple other Catholic colleges that he approved of. One of them was Southern Catholic.
Heyo.
And I didn't know anything about Georgia. The only experience I'd ever had was when we drove my brother to Ave Maria in Florida. I went with them to drop him off. So
Right.
the only thing I knew of Georgia was along 95 along the coast.
Great. Yeah.
So I knew nothing about Georgia. Didn't obviously want to go to Ave Maria because my brother was going there. I wanted my own thing. So my father presented me with a school in Connecticut. So instantly I said, nope, not
Right.
going to college in Connecticut. Too close to you guys. A college in Canada and then the one in Georgia.
Cool.
And I was
Okay.
like, Canada, absolutely. So I looked into the college in Canada, got accepted.
What was the college?
Saint something in Nova Scotia. I don't
Great,
even remember.
sure. Awesome.
Don't even remember the name.
Big shout out to Saint something.
Say
Nova
something in
Scotia.
Nova Scotia, yeah. There was an issue getting me a student visa. So I was going to go to this college in Canada. Like at my graduation, we had to say we were all going to college and it was St. Thomas. That's what it was. So at my graduation, it actually said St. Thomas University for where I was going. Then I couldn't go there because of the issue with my student visa.
Right.
So my dad was like, hey, Southern Catholic College is still a thing. He knew Dr. Bowering.
Oh, did he really? How do you know him?
Networking somehow when we lived in Maryland. Dr. Bowering was also living in Maryland.
Okay.
That's where they met and they stayed in touch.
Right.
So Dr. Bowering was like, I know you got a bunch of kids. Like, I'm going to be teaching at this brand new Catholic college in Georgia that's going to be a huge college one day.
Yeah.
So, of course, my dad was like, yeah. So he's like, Southern Catholic. And I was like, no. But finally, when I didn't have any other options, I was like, fine, maybe I'll go and maybe I'll like transfer eventually, but I'll just go for now.
Right.
And I was not very happy about it. And then I was even more disappointed when, this is before like Facebook even really was a big thing. I was emailing my future roommate because they gave me her email address. So we're emailing back and forth about how excited we were to meet each other. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm not really excited to go to Georgia, but I do like palm trees. So I'm pumped for the palm trees.
That's awesome.
She goes, there's no palm trees in Georgia.
We're in the Appalachian Mountains, actually.
Literally, I responded, yes, there are. I have seen them. So I was thinking, because I have
like Savannah.
the coastal Georgia experience, just going up and down 95. So that made
There's
me
that
even
big
more
welcome to Georgia
upset.
sign with all the palm trees
Yes.
over it. Yeah.
So that I was even more upset that I we wasn't even going to get the palm
Not
trees.
even the good part.
One thing I
Right?
wanted.
So, of course, I arrived. We couldn't even find the school.
Yep.
Like we literally had to pull over to some hotel in downtown Dawsonville and ask for directions. And she was like, "There's a college here." Like she had
Awesome.
no idea.
Hey, we had that one sign on pointing down 136. This is Southern Catholic College.
But I don't
It's the
even
only
think it
evidence
was
that we
there
existed.
yet. I don't
think it
even
came
know if
earlier.
it was there. Because I was the second class. I came
Right.
a whole year before you guys. So
You were Angie's.
Yes.
You were with Angie. Okay.
So I don't even know if that sign existed at that moment.
Cool.
But we eventually found it. And at first I kind of looked around and I was like, really? This is it?
For the record, for anybody who's listening, the college
Very
was
small.
on 90 acres, but the college itself was like 2.
Right.
Right, it was basically a parking lot.
It was a circle,
surrounded
yeah.
by little condo-y buildings.
Yep.
There were dorms, and then a trailer that had our classes in it, and a trailer for the gym, and a smoking section that I got fired from being a student ambassador because I refused to stop pointing it out to people. I don't know why. I thought it was funny, and that was one of the reasons they gave me for why they were firing me. There were other
I
reasons.
didn't even know that happened.
Because you
That's
pointed out the
hilarious.
smoking section?
Yeah, every time I was like, "There's a smoking section over there if you smoke." And
We had a lot of smokers.
we did. I made all my friends at first
right.
from hanging out in the smoking
You would
section.
think that they would want people to know where you're supposed to smoke so that they're not smoking in the places you're not.
Exactly.
I'm
being an
sure that's where I
ambassador.
met you. You smoked back then, didn't you?
I did,
Yeah.
I did. I mean, I wasn't like a smoker like
Right.
some of the students, but that was where you hung out. That was where the cool kids hung out.
Because there was nowhere else to go.
Exactly.
It was like 20 minutes to get to the Waffle House.
Yeah, or Walmart or
Yeah.
McDonald's, anything.
Well, the 2 Waffle Houses.
There were two. There was a
were
Waffle House.
across the
It's still
street.
there.
I know.
You can sit
Yeah.
in one and you can see the other Waffle House.
The other one, yeah.
And I only ever went to one.
yeah,
Yeah.
all of us only ever went to
There
one,
was
right?
one correct Waffle
Yes.
House. Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
all had the same waitress and everything.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
We would
The
go
best.
at 2:00 in the morning.
That's really cool. So why'd you stay? Why'd you keep going there?
I mean, I fell in love with it pretty much right away.
Why?
I mean, I do remember this very vividly. There is probably like a twofold thing. So Thomas Clements, the OG Thomas Clements,
Yeah.
not Junior, our classmate.
The founder.
Although I was friends with
Yeah.
Thomas Junior too. He
Friend of the show.
Yeah,
Friend of the show,
yeah.
yeah.
He's been on the show. I met him and his father at the same time.
Okay.
I was with my dad because we were at orientation. So I met both of them, and I had a butterfly necklace on, and Mr. Clements Sr. pointed out the necklace, and he was like, "That's the most appropriate necklace that you could wear to a freshman orientation because you're about to spread your wings and fly."
That's cool.
And that has stuck with me all these
Yeah.
years. Like, I don't remember him saying anything else. I'm sure he said a lot of other things. He was
Right.
the founder of the school, but that stuck with me so hard. And I was like, yeah, I'm about to fly. And then my brother, my older brother, because I have a lot,
How many?
I have 5 brothers,
My brothers.
5 brothers.
but I only have one older. So my older brother, who was a student at Ave Maria, he was missing that semester of college.
Okay.
So it would have been his 3rd fall semester because he had a brain tumor that he had to get surgically removed.
Okay.
About 2 days after I got to Southern Catholic was when his surgery was scheduled for. So he was actually with us at the orientation because right after my dad dropped me off at orientation, he literally drove my brother up to Baltimore to Johns Hopkins
Wow.
for him to get this brain tumor removed.
Right. And everything went okay?
Yeah, everything went
Okay,
great.
yeah.
But literally, I knew no one at this school except for Dr. Bowering. I
Right.
mean, I had met people.
Who was
But-
our freshman theology professor,
Yes.
for the record. Yeah.
Yeah, he was an interesting character too. But I knew no one, and Dr. Bowering told everyone that my brother was having brain surgery. So I had like everyone approaching me,
Right.
asking me how I was doing, asking me how my brher was doing.
Beautiful.
And I
Okay.
didn't know anyone. Like literally, I'm like, I don't even know your name, and you're asking how my brother's doing. Like it was just so sweet, and I loved how caring everyone was, and it was very genuine. It didn't seem fake. It
Right.
genuinely seemed like people cared about you.
And that's the upside of those little bitty colleges. Once again, I really am. I'll expose my own biases that I really like tiny little colleges like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't go to a big high school, but I went to a high school a lot bigger than our college. I think we had like 120 something kids there at the height, wasn't it?
At SEC?
Something Catholic, yeah.
We had 200.
We had 200 whole kids there, right? At the
When
biggest
you
that
guys
we were.
started, or just your class?
No, the next class.
The next
When we
class
started,
was
it wasn't even 200.
Yeah.
Are we talking about the total students? Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
it was like 200.
Yeah, but it was so small, and it was not. I mean, it was just starting out, so it wasn't like we had a whole lot to do with sort of creating a mission of this place, and a lot of us were kind of like lost boys and girls who were not like,
much.
who were not like entering into a culture that already existed, like you would if you went to a Franciscan or something. Yeah. You sort of entered into this place, and there was this kind of beautiful family dynamic there in a lot of ways that I don't know, I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
I went up there for the first time over Thanksgiving break my senior year because
I
I
love
got a
this
postcard
story.
from there.
Yeah.
And Father Simberger met me
You
in the
remember his
rain.
name?
Yeah, Father
I couldn't
Simberger
remember his name
met
either.
me in the rain and chain smoked cigarettes while giving me a tour of this empty campus in the rain.
Nice.
It was and I liked how it was in the middle of nowhere. I liked the fact that it was, there was nothing around. And I really enjoyed it. And then I went there over the summer for that Eucharistic Congress that we
Right.
went to.
Which apparently we were both at.
And it was a blast. It was a lot of fun.
That's when I fell in love with it after that.
Really? At the Eucharistic
Oh,
Congress?
yes.
And you weren't super into your faith, were you at the
Oh, I
time?
was.
You were then?
At that time,
Okay.
yeah.
I was not.
I came in pretty strong with it and kind of did this thing where it dipped down, sin entered my life, blinded me, and
Yep.
then came back up. But,
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
At that point, yeah, I was probably peak of where I was with faith wise was at that Eucharistic
Yeah.
Congress. Matt, who was it? Not Matt Fradd. Matt,
Forbes.
yeah, Matt Forbes. I'm talking about the
Vallejo.
singer.
Oh,
What?
Mayor.
Matt,
Like-
yeah.
Boom. Those are all the Matts I know.
Matt Mayer.
Wait, I thought it was
Matt
Matt
Mauer.
Marr.
Matt Marr. That's it.
Yeah, he performed at the thing. I don't know if you went to that because
At Southern Catholic?
no, at the Eucharistic Congress.
Where was the Eucharistic Congress?
By the
Atlanta,
airport.
yeah.
oh,
yeah,
I
so
thought
they-
you were saying it was at
they
Southern
bust us
Catholic.
down. there.
No, they bust us. We stayed at Southern Catholic. Had like a
okay.
party, watched some kind of movie, and then
The summer before you started.
The men went to their men's rooms, and the females went to the females' room.
I got into a fist fight
What?
right after we got back from the Eucharistic Congress. I got in a fist fight.
Wow.
At
I'm not
Southern
going
Catholic?
to name
Okay.
names.
No,
if
no,
somebody
no,
wasn't
no.
around long,
Right.
but yeah, we got in a fist fight in the parking lot right in front of Carol Ivanko.
But you weren't students yet, or you had already been?
I
accepted?
was accepted.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It was. Yeah, you had to be an accepted student.
Wow. What? So what happened?
Nothing. We
Yeah.
were yelled at and told to stop fighting. Unless we said, all right.
What, were you fighting over?
It was the Wild West in a lot of ways. I mean, it was like when because we were coming into this place and building this thing, and it was just so cool. What I loved about it was being 18, 19 years old, feeling like, hey, we're actually on the ground floor, like building a thing. And it was so cool.
Yeah.
So what are y'all thinking? Your oldest is 11 or 12?
12.
12. What do you have any thoughts on college for?
I'd
Don't
love.
want him to go to college.
You don't want him to go
I
at
want
all?
him to go to Franciscan.
Got a ladybug on your mic.
I know.
if anywhere.
He's been hanging out.
It's Edward. Yeah, he was
Edward.
here last show
Yeah.
a week ago.
Yeah. That was fun. I want him to go to Franciscan.
It's great.
If
I
could
want
pick.
him to join the military so his college is paid for and he can be sure that he is mature and responsible enough to go to college
Right.
or go to a trade school.
I want Henry to go to Wyoming Catholic. It's my idea.
Wyoming Catholic?
Dude,
Your
Wyoming
son?
Catholic's legit. Do you not know about Wyoming Catholic?
It sounds familiar.
Do you know about Wyoming Catholic?
Tell us.
Oh my goodness, y'all. Go check out Wyoming Catholic College. Ben knows about Wyoming
Oh, yeah.
Catholic
I
College.
spent a week living in the dorms at Wyoming Catholic College.
it beautiful?
Well, yeah, it's in the mountains of
Not the
Wyoming.
not the
Been to
dorms.
Wyoming.
Not
but
the,
We're
well,
trying.
no, you can see the
I know.
You can
Yeah.
see the mountains from the dorm rooms. Like it's
It's
kinda
beautiful
crazy.
around. Once you go outside
Yeah, once
of
you
the
go
dorms, it's
outside
beautiful.
of the dorms.
Kind of like Southern Catholic.
Yeah.
Actually, our dorms were nice. They were,
yeah,
they were
we
pretty.
did.
They were great.
Super tiny little Catholic college in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's in Lander, Wyoming.
Yeah. mhm. The fastest way to get there is take a plane to Denver, Colorado, then catch a regional flight to Riverton, then take a 30 to 45-minute drive into
Oh my gosh.
Lander?
It takes about 12, 13 hours.
I've driven
That
there a couple of
sounds
times, and it's about a 28-hour drive from here.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I hunt
That's where we're
antelope
sending
nearby.
Caleb. Okay.
Yeah, it's amazing. But their whole their outdoor program and stuff that you're required to take, like freshman orientation is a 2-week backpacking trip,
3 week.
3-week backpacking trip. I think horsemanship is one of the required classes,
What?
right?
Now,
it's
that is a
ridiculous.
That
college.
sounds amazing.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
It's super cool. I've been up there a couple of times.
Why were you
it's
there?
a very weird culture. I was dating someone that lived there at the time.
Did she go
that
to
went
school there?
Yeah, she went to school there.
Okay.
It's an odd culture
Yeah.
there between everyone. They're very tight knit because it's very similar in size to Southern Catholic.
Okay.
But it's just this tiny little tight knit group of students. They run the town basically.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
it's kinda
and the
great.
college itself is all throughout the town. So there's
Yeah.
this little western town there. And originally they were going to build the campus like out. They have 600 and something acres right outside of Lander. But they were just sort of in the interim renting out all these buildings on the strip, on the main street. But then the town said, can you guys just stay here? And they said, yeah. And so now you walk down the street and it's like, grocery store, college library, I don't know, shoe store, college coffee shop.
That's neat.
Yeah, movie theater. Here's where we have some of our classes. It's really cool. It's this neat
Wow.
little thing. You should,
That sounds
at the very least,
awesome.
check it out.
So almost set up like some of those state schools, but without the secularness, without
Yes.
hundreds of bars. I mean, there's probably a bar,
and,
I hope
there's definitely
there's a
bars.
bar.
There's a couple of bars.
but it's
Yeah.
not this wild and out like you see in some of those state schools.
No,
the
I,
bar district.
I loved it. I
Do
thought it
people
was.
ride horses down the street?
I didn't see any horses on the
I think
street.
so. I think it's been done.
I'm sure it
I've
has.
heard
Like
stories.
that's the main reason, other than the mountains, that's the main reason why I want to go to like Wyoming and those areas. Is just so I could like experience
It's
that.
beautiful.
Stargazing is amazing out there.
I
I'll tell you.
bet.
Okay.
Rock climbing.
And there's
Wyoming.
mule deer right around all around the dorms. That was cool. Saw a bunch of deer when I was there. last time.
My brother was planning on going. Like he had been accepted and everything. I think like he was ready to go, and then at the last minute, kind of changed his mind and decided not to go to college at all.
Aw.
But I know now at least 2 people that have gone there. I know a bunch of people that are out there just because you immediately become friends with people once you're out there that are all phenomenal people. Like, they're just great people.
It's a great school.
It really makes them deep thinkers. A lot of what they do is philosophy and Latin.
Cool.
Yes.
And it is very Catholic.
Well,
very, very
that's what I was
Catholic.
going to say. It's super orthodox. And
Yep.
my hot take on college is that it's primarily for networking and spouse shopping. And anything that you really need to know, you're probably going to pick up in your master's program or a specialty program or something that's a little more into it.
They have 1 degree.
Yep. It's a liberal arts school. You get 1 degree in the liberal arts, and then you go out and you go to further education, or you get married, or you join seminary. And it's just it's a cool culture and super, super Catholic.
I could never have done it, but that's just me. I think other people do fantastic in it.
Yeah. Well, and once again, I think I've done this pitch before. If you're considering going to a college, if you're in high school right now, or you're at a college and it sucks and you're considering transferring, or you have kids you're looking at college for them, go check out the Newman list of Catholic colleges. It's a compilation of all the actual legit Catholic colleges that take the Catholicity part seriously. And it's fantastic. Southern Catholic was on the Newman list back in the day. So this is a question that I know we've gotten into a little bit when you did your conversion episode. And I don't know. I feel like, I don't know if I've gotten into this a whole lot, and I have no idea what your answer is going to be, Rachel, but I would love to talk about, like, you talked earlier about peaks and troughs sort of on your journey, right?
Yeah.
And I would love to talk a little bit about, like, when you actually owned your faith as your own. Because I've been thinking about that a lot, and I was having a conversation with a college guy. I was down giving a talk at GCSU last week, and we got into this, and I was thinking about it. I've said before on the show that my conversion was mostly intellectual early on, and then I've been slowly but surely trying to make it more of a conversion of the heart as I've gotten older. But I don't think I can honestly say it was until after I was married. Like I prayed lip service, right? And I believed, but I didn't feel, and it wasn't something that was all encompassing in my life. Yeah. And I honestly don't think it was until I had children of my own that I sort of had this, like, terrifying realization that I had to do better about this stuff. And I've had friends talk about how much harder their, like, faith life and stuff has been since they had kids, because time consuming and stress and whatever. And I've had the exact opposite experience. My experience has been like, oh no, I really need to get my crap together, because I now am responsible for these 5 little souls running around my house, and I am not good enough. I'm not doing a good job. And so I really need to up my own game. And I don't know when that happened. It's sort of one of those things that I look back on and even talk with my spiritual director. I was like, man, I've grown so much in my faith somehow over these past 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, since I've been having these children. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Probably the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it was that Southern Catholic for me. I mean, I was born and raised Catholic. So
right.
For me, the college experience was kind of more rebellious, I guess.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there was a handful of people who kind of rubbed me the wrong way. At Southern Catholic, that kind of, I would say, pushed me in more of the
from a
opposite
faith
direction.
standpoint? Okay. So I might have talked about this on the show before.
Yes.
There's a great episode of South Park, which I'm not recommending, but the episode, there's these guys who come to the elementary school where the main characters are to put on a don't smoke, like, PSA, right? And it's awful. It's so embarrassing. They're doing all this just super lame stuff. It's really cringy. And at the end, they're like, and if you want to be like us, then never smoke. And then it immediately cuts to all the kids from South Park smoking cigarettes by a dumpster. And that's the vibe I get from a whole lot of Catholics who are, I think, for the most part, really good human beings, like, who are well-intended, right? But make the faith the most unappealing thing in the entire world. And it becomes this pride thing, which I'm super guilty of. I talk about how I struggle with pride all the time, right? But it becomes this sort of pride, this thing that they have to prove to themselves and try to demonstrate to others how much better they are than them.
Yes.
And what it does is, no one has ever been converted that way. All it ever does is make you want to run away from that. Exactly. There are so many people in my life that I've seen the way that they've, their faith has been expressed and the way they carry themselves, that I thought, man, if this is what it means to be Catholic, I want to be the exact opposite of that.
Exactly.
So I totally get that.
I mean, at Southern Catholic, dealt with a lot of spiritual immaturity, and that is what you're seeing there with that.
Can you define spiritual immaturity?
What you just described is exactly how I would define it.
Okay.
Those who are real up in your face and trying to put on this front of like, this is how you have to be, and if you're not Catholic, you're going to be really turned off by that.
Right.
So if you're turned off by
If you're
it,
Catholic, you're going to be turned off by it too.
even if you're well, I think that a spiritual maturity allows you the opportunity to maybe nurture that person,
Right.
And to help them grow.
But I think if you're culturally Catholic and you're one of those people who just claim
Right,
it,
yeah, sure, okay.
then it's a lot more off-putting.
Yeah.
You think, oh my gosh, is this what the faith is? And I've had a lot of conversations with people like that over the years, who's literally their whole trajectory or mindset or whatever you want to call it in regards to their walk with Christ towards the church has been derailed entirely because of and a lot of times it's family members, sometimes it's friends or whatever. That's just, let me be the opposite of that.
To me, they're just green bananas.
Green bananas? What do you mean?
Well, green bananas they're
not ripe
Oh,
yet.
they're not ripe yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're bananas and they're in good shape, but they're not ripe
You
yet.
can eat them eventually, but they're too hard right now.
They are too
Yeah.
hard. Yeah. They need
That's
to
good.
soften
That's
up
a really
little
good
bit.
analogy.
I haven't heard that
I'm going to
before
use
either.
that. Did you just come up with that?
I did. Holy Spirit did this,
That
not
was
me.
really good. I like that a lot.
Thank you.
Can we dig into like parenting stuff for a little bit?
Yeah.
Because it's been a long time since we've done a parenting episode. And I'm a parent. And I've got it on good authority that both of you are parents. And
That is
of some of the same children.
Apparently we are.
Yeah.
Some of the
All of the same children. That was a joke for anybody who doesn't know. Yeah, all their children are held in common, just between them. But like, can we just? I would love to just talk a little bit about that. I right now have got 5 children, 4 daughters, newborn, 5, 7, and 9, and 1 son who is 11, and he's in middle school this year, and we're sort of embarking for the first time. Like I'm watching him try to suss out like where he fits, like he's getting older. And I think that's a really good thing, especially with boys where they realize like I'm my own person. And I'm not saying girls aren't their own person, but I'm saying like, where do I fit? I don't need to be like super attached to my mom all the time. I feel like I need to have some distance there. And it's been really hard to navigate. Like
11 was a hard year.
Yeah. Oh, that's good to know.
Because Caleb,
Just give me some parent advice and counseling right now. That'd be awesome.
I don't know if you want my parenting advice, but I mean, Caleb turned 12 in July, so he's been 12 for a little while now. But 11 was a very, very hard year for him.
Right.
But I also think a lot of that was where he was in school. We're homeschooling now, and it's definitely a much better fit for him.
It has been better.
Much better. And then he's at a co-op, and all the kids at the co-op his age are just like him.
Okay.
So
Cool. Good.
I think he's finding himself now. So I think a lot of that does have to do with the transition we made into homeschooling. But
Sure.
he had such a hard time. He went to a Catholic school for 6th grade, and he had such a hard time. Like it's hard when all the other kids have smartphones.
Yeah. Don't get me
Because they're in
started.
a completely
man.
different place than most 11-year-olds or 11-year-olds when we were 11.
Right.
Like so different now. So these kids just like he didn't fit in with them.
Right.
And like, they would give him a hard time if he didn't know like a meme or a joke that they've all seen on TikTok, and he didn't know it because he doesn't have TikTok
Don't
and
allow TikTok.
he didn't
Good.
fit in.
Way to go.
So it was really, really hard for him. And like, he's had problems in the past, like in elementary school here and there with kids, but this was very different because this is such a transitional age where you're trying to find yourself, you're
Right.
trying to find your people, trying to find where you fit in. So
Kids are mean.
when kids
Yes.
are mean and kids making you feel excluded, and you're starting to like girls and all of those things at one time, like he just had such a hard time, and it was so hard for me.
How did
watch him.
how did y'all deal with that as parents?
Not very well.
Okay.
I was
That's fair.
pregnant, so I was
Right.
very hormonal, and I just cried all the time. And
My wife gets the pregnancy cries too, pretty good.
I complained to the school a lot because I didn't like how they were handling a lot of things and did not make any progress. Got pretty much gotten an email debate back and forth with the guidance counselor, and I had to have Julian be like, "You need to chill out because you're not being really nice right now." But it was hard because I felt like not only am I trying to help my son without smothering him and trying to let him find his footing on his own, but of course I'm his mother and I see him struggling, so I want to help him. And my natural inclination is to swoop in there and just make it all better. But I also wanted to give him a little bit of space too, to see if he could figure it out on his own and not make him feel like a little kid.
Right.
But it was hard when I felt like I was getting a lot of pushback from the school, and I felt like the school didn't really care.
Yeah, it's super unfortunate. This is going to make me sound like an old fogey, like a boomery, fuddy-duddy, whatever. But I'm gonna say it. I only realized in real life like a year ago that schools almost across the board allow kids to have phones at school. Like I didn't know that. I honestly didn't understand that was a thing that happened until recently. And it is the biggest cancer ever for our kids. It is such
They're not kids.
You are literally stealing your child's
You go to like sporting events. We would go to events at the school. Yeah. And they're all sitting there. And I see my son just blankly like looking around and just all the kids just on their phones. And he said that they would be texting each other, like on either side of him. This kid would text this kid.
Yeah.
When they're right next to each other.
Yeah. I'm going to try to make sure that I couch this so I don't offend anybody. If you give your child a smartphone with unlimited access to the internet at any age, that's child abuse, and you're abusing your child.
Yeah, what good are you doing for your
it's
kid?
It's a sentence to hell.
There's
you're
seriously.
sending them to hell.
You are, yes. For the sake of, I was giving that same talk at GCSU the other day, and so many of the questions and so many of our conversations go back to this. And I said, it really sucks that your mommy gave you an iPad so you would be quiet in restaurants. And it really sucks that your dad gave you a phone when you were in middle school and then you got addicted to porn when you were 12. Like, that's really, really awful. And I'm sorry. That being said, you've got to overcome that. And the resentment, the conversations I had about resentment that these kids have towards their parents blew my mind. And I just don't understand. And it's not because I'm some great understander of truth, right? It's because I've had really great people around me and I've said, hey, your kids seem amazing and they're adults, right? I want my daughters to grow up to be adults like your kids. How do I do that? And every single time, the number one piece of advice has been, well, for starters, don't give them a phone when they're kids, right? When they're 16 years old and are driving around, right? And you need to be able to, I hear that argument for give them a phone. But even then, I don't need a phone with full access to the internet, right? Give them something that you can talk and text on or whatever. My phone right now, I'm a grown man, I'm 34 years old. My phone right now has parent controls on it so that I don't spend too much time staring at my phone because I need that reminder to say like, all right, you've been looking at this too much. And I keep all the filter stuff on there so I don't accidentally stumble into something, right? That's going to reinvigorate, past experiences with pornography or something like that because it's a scourge and I hate it. But we're doing this to our kids.
Yep.
That's not what I meant for this part of the show to be about. But like now that we're on it, I would love to just rant.
Yeah. We have a phone that I don't even call Caleb's phone. It's a flip phone.
Yes.
That doesn't access the internet. It's the internet's completely blocked.
Yeah, games. He can call people. And
right. But it's not his phone. It's literally in my phone labeled as burner phone.
Yeah. Awesome.
And he has it when he absolutely needs it. If he's going to be somewhere that he may.
Yeah. If we drop him off somewhere and we need to be in contact with him about when we need to pick him up, then we give him the phone. Yeah.
We've talked about having some sort of a house phone or something that exists. One of those, nothing super cheap plans that can just talk and text to leave at home. So when I leave Henry at home by himself or I'm out, we live out in the middle of nowhere. So I could be on the property, but a half mile away. Yeah. And so he would have some way to contact us if the house caught on fire. But it's such a bizarre thing. I think parenting right now, I think we get made to feel so weird and different and strange because if we're just trying to toe the line and protect our children's childhood and morality, right? When we're not the weird ones, right? We're normal, even though there's not very many of us.
I'm going to push back a tiny bit on that.
Yeah.
Because I do work you work with Catholics, so that's great. I work in a secular place. I'm not going to say it because of what I do, but
he's an FBI.
A lot of them go
CIA.
a lot of them go
undercover.
I'm not in the CIA anymore.
For drug cartels, he infiltrates them.
Well, we're going to just trigger all the things. Let's
screenshot his face.
Yep. Let's flag it all for YouTube today. Yep. They're required to have smartphones in school now. Because I brought it up to some of the parents that my kids, we're not going to allow smartphones. And they said, well, they go to public school and they need them for some of their applications that they're literally required.
What?
That's the grossest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. Either a phone or an iPad.
Like an app that they use for schoolwork? Yes. I mean, well, Caleb uses Google Classroom for one of his co-op classes, but he can access it through the computer.
Yeah, from your computer.
From our computer.
He's not left alone.
Highly low. Oh, he can't access anything except for that. It's
right.
I've got that Fort Knox locked down.
Good.
Yeah. But when I heard that, I just went, that's sad because they even said they wish that they wouldn't have to give their kids smartphones.
I remember I was filming like a parent conference at a school one time.
Like a parent-teacher conference?
No, not a parent-teacher conference, but like a informational conference.
That's way better than them hiring you to sit in and record the parent-teacher
where the
conference.
parents can stand up and like talk about things they have issues with.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
And,
those are fun.
A lot of it was about smartphones and how to police your kids' smartphones and stuff like that, and talking parents through what is Snapchat, what is Instagram,
The devil.
things like that.
It's the devil.
And so they were talking about all these things that, you need to make sure you're on this, and you're grabbing their phone from them and you're snooping through it and you're like invading their privacy. Just don't give them a phone.
Yeah, or hear me out.
Yeah.
Don't give them a phone.
Like I remember, I was
there.
sitting there, and Matt Fradd was one of the speakers actually talking through what is it, Come and Eyes?
Yeah.
Is his program?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And
his?
He was with them for a long time.
He was with them for a while, and I that was I think that was the first time I met Matt.
Yeah.
Was at that conference, and they were talking about Come and Eyes and how to do all these parental like locks on phones and stuff. And as someone who has been tech savvy since I was like 12 years old, my parents tried. None of it worked on me. Like I was able to get past every single thing.
Oh, look at you.
Like even Come and Eyes, which is probably the best out there of that kind of software. It's really easy to get past if you know what you're doing, and most kids do. So just don't give them a smartphone.
Right.
That's the answer.
I wouldn't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Just saying, but
Well, the kids are always smarter than us with that kind of stuff
Yeah.
too, though.
Mhm.
Like
They're
they
around
are.
it way more than
that's
adults
true.
are. Yeah.
That's true. There's
Well,
things
not my
Logan
kids.
knows how to do on a computer. That I'm like, how'd you do that?
Oh, well.
No, they're yeah.
Well, and I feel like we're all, I don't know where we fall on the generational thing. We're like mid-tier millennials. We're like right in the middle somewhere,
Yeah.
right? Y'all are all,
When does millennial start again? Is it 81?
I don't know, but we're all late 80s, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Like we really did hit a nice sweet spot where the first time smartphones came out, first time I ever even saw a smartphone, it was Dan, I won't say his last name, one of the Dans in college, who we were standing around the smoking section, which doesn't narrow it down.
No.
And he said, I think I can look that up on my phone. And he pulled it up. It was like an iPhone 1.
I think.
And he like,
cute.
was like, what? It's amazing. Look, it's the internet. It's right here.
Oh my gosh.
But it was just so not a part of our, like the lack of privacy that I had as a kid. I'm so thankful for. I love the lack of privacy, right? The fact that there just weren't that many options for me to get into.
Right.
I mean, I got in plenty of trouble when I was a kid, but not in the like, I had to find other people to get into trouble with, which I actually think is a blessing in and of itself.
Sure.
At Southern Catholic?
Yeah.
Or just
Just in
kid?
general,
Period.
from the time
Yeah.
I was
I was going
12.
to say, I didn't think that you had other people that you got in trouble with. Catholic necessarily.
Not bad trouble.
No, not bad
No,
trouble.
good
The
trouble.
kind of trouble that makes the best stories.
But that's another thing about Southern Catholic. All the trouble that I got at Southern Catholic was good trouble.
oh yeah,
about all-
I've shared some of them with my kids, and they're
Great.
very excited.
It was all like fun, dumb stuff.
Christmas tree.
That was not, yep. We
That's
got
one of my
the
favorites.
Christmas tree. I had a sick go-kart that I drove all over campus till Andy Johnson caught me.
Oh, yeah.
I had a lot of, there was some fun hijinks.
Yeah. Took mattresses and would surf down stairwells.
Yes.
That
Yes.
was fun. Yeah.
The poor
Yeah.
security guards that we,
See, that's
Oh, the poor
healthy,
security guards.
healthy rebellious behavior. That
Yeah.
was not, going to send us to hell.
well, my mantra has been too, like with my own kids, I care very little about their physical safety and I care a whole heck of a lot about their moral well-being, right?
You care very little about the
Physical safety? No, Henry can climb a tree and fall out and break his arm. Great, whatever. He'll be fine. Right? What I care about is him not getting addicted to porn when he's 12. Or
that's important.
Yeah, I care. I don't care that much about him. I don't know, chopping down a tree and it falling on his leg and mangling his foot. Like you can climb that cliff face. You can go.
I'm worried about the
swim across that
hospital
river.
bill.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't love that. But at the end of the day, I feel like we as a society have changed so much in the last 40 years or so, where now we care a whole lot about physical safety. And oh my gosh, let's make sure our kids are hyper protected and don't go outside and stranger danger and all this stuff. Meanwhile, we're allowing their brains and their souls to be rotted from the
rot.
inside out. And I think that's backwards.
Well, yeah, kids don't know how to be kids as
Right.
much anymore. So
Right.
anytime I can get my boys in nature,
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
So it's good for them.
I heard recently, like the reason so many kids nowadays, or so many people in general, are nearsighted, like that it's like 46% of the population is nearsighted because we spend so much time indoors. And actually, the
interesting.
rise began when like schooling started rising.
Really?
And so the more time we started keeping kids indoors, looking at books, reading all day long.
It's the book's fault.
Yeah, it's like books. And then it like went way up when screens became a thing. Because then instead of us, reading for a little while, then putting it down, then going to do stuff, it was, no, let's look at this thing and look at a screen all day long. And the amount of time kids spent in school got longer and longer and longer and longer to now it's most of the week is spent indoors.
I'm sure I've said this before, but here's another hot take I have. I don't think school is meant for boys. Like, I don't think our traditional American classroom is set up for boys at all. That's why I like homeschool or the hybrid homeschool or whatever you're talking about, because boys, especially boys like our boys, right, are at an age where the worst thing you can do is tell them to sit down and shut up in a classroom for 8 hours a day. That's the worst thing you could possibly do. Girls are much better at being patient and on task and all that. I'm not saying they don't get antsy, but not on the same level that boys get antsy. And we do the hybrid school thing where Henry has, or all my kids, except for the baby, have school 2 days a week in an actual classroom. And the other stuff is home. And on those home days, I love it, especially when I'm home, one of those home days, and he's getting super antsy because he's working on like dividing fractions or whatever, which is incredibly objectively boring. Come at me, math teachers. And I can say, you know what? Go get a BB gun and go outside. I could go shoot. Yesterday, you know what he did? He got home from school and he asked if he could build a tree house because we have got a bunch of scrap wood left in the house. And I was like, yep, take my hammer, take some nails. And he built a tree house. It was terrible. It's super unsafe, but it's super cool. I love it.
He built a whole tree house?
He built like a platform way up in a tree. Not like it was terrible in terms of function. It works great. It's just like you can stand on it, but yeah, you totally like fall out and die. There's no way to, Once again, but I'm less worried about his physical safety than I am his moral
Caleb
well-being.
and Logan did at their co-op. At one Friday a month, they have a park day where they just do all outside stuff.
Awesome.
And they did orienteering, and one of the dads taught Caleb how to use a compass.
Yeah.
So Caleb literally led this group of boys through the woods with a compass.
That's so cool.
And I'm like, that is
No
awesome.
phones,
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah. And then he even came up to me and told me, he's like, Caleb was such a great leader today. He did a really good job. And like, I was like, I love this kind of stuff.
Well, and that's the thing, is that it's not that hard. It's not that hard if you don't first introduce them to all of these things that are just like dopamine dumps that rob their attention span and all that with the screen stuff. It's like, there's a reason why every kid ever, every boy ever has gone to the woods and picked up like a stick or a blade of grass and be like, this is a gun and I'm a soldier, and then gone through the woods. They'll spend hours doing dumb stuff. Henry, I just told him dig a hole, see how deep the hole could be. And he dug a great hole for like 2 hours. And then he got bored. And I was like, all right, cool.
2 hours though.
Well,
That's a long time.
You want to hear the sad part? My dog died a week later and we buried the dog in that hole.
That's actually not. I mean,
it's sad the dog died. I love that dog.
That's great. You know.
Yeah, no, it was cool.
He got
So
to
you
be
just-
And then
part
he
of
made
it.
a cross for it and everything.
Yeah, that's great.
Christian burial.
It is
So,
sad.
Yeah. But anyway, I feel like we make things a lot more complicated than they need to be. And I feel like our society right now really likes to look at things that have worked since civilization started, right? Things that have worked great for the last 12,000 years and been like, we don't need to do that. It's as if saying we've always done that or we've always done things that way is now a reason not to do them when it should be the opposite. It's all Chesterton's fence thing, right? Yeah. Why did we do it this way? We should figure that out before we decide whether or not we should get rid of it.
What are your opinions on like St. Gregory the Great Academy for Boys? Like that's where my younger brother is. It's a boarding school for high schoolers. Like it's 4 years, freshman through senior year of high school. That it's in Pennsylvania. It's in what is it? Scranton. It's in Scranton, Pennsylvania, home of The Office.
Yeah.
And they just spend most of the year, all the time they're actually in school. They spend it with boys their age doing boy stuff, going to church every day, and
Outside stuff?
Yeah, outside stuff all the time. They play rugby like daily.
If it's
like
stuff that helps with restless boys, then I think that it would be appropriate for my children.
Jude, this may be a downside. Jude tore his ear open, like he got his ear ripped back on the rugby field. A couple weeks ago, but then he, they put some super glue in it, stuck it back, and they kept playing.
Fine.
Like he got right back in the game and kept playing.
They had super glue with them?
Yeah.
You got to keep that in your first aid kit, Rachel. Come on.
What?
It's really great for like big cuts and stuff.
It works.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my knee-jerk reaction, I've got a lot of people who I know who've sent their boys off to boarding school who I really respect and I understand their reasons for it. I don't think I could ever do it.
No.
Yeah. I'm not attacking people who do. I think for certain kids, it works really, really well. I don't, I don't know. I just don't like the idea of my son not being around me. I mean, maybe that'll change one day, but I feel like I've only got him for about 6 more years or something like that. And then he goes off to college.
I don't think I've ever heard you get sentimental like that.
Once the girls hit,
what?
Once the girls kind of enter.
Oh, I see.
Puberty. Yeah, have fun with that.
You got
4 of them.
Yeah, so hold on.
One after the other.
I'm very protective of him with girls. I'm like, no, except for
too much.
Yeah.
I've already picked out a girl for Henry to marry. Well, he's got 3 options.
Oh, yeah, I picked out one for Caleb. But
so I'm joking right now, but also unironically, I think we ought to, I think traditional, I think that you ought to, we ought to go back to, what's
arranged
marriages.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not joking. And here, what I mean is arranged marriages are better than what we do right now. 100%.
Yeah.
Arranged marriages are better than
Yeah, definitely.
hands down.
But
totally.
better than what we do? What do you mean?
Better than sort of
world.
modern dating. Yeah, sort of the Tinder and hookup appy, whatever.
What if you meet your future spouse at church?
I'm not saying that there's no ways that you should. I'm not saying no one should ever be allowed to date. I'm saying if you gave me the option of either, John Henry, you're king of the world, and we can either leave the way that we spouse select and date now. We can leave it the same, or parents can just pick out their spouses. 100%. I would 100% say arrange
Parents
it.
should know their kids well enough to know who their kids would fit with.
But all the girls that I know of that my son has had a crush on, I've known as soon as I met the girl that my son's going to have a crush on this girl.
Well, it's not about who he has a crush on. It's about who you
Who's
know.
right for him.
I'm agreeing with him. I already kind of know the girls that my son is going to like. I know my son well enough that as soon as I meet her, I'm like, okay, my son's going to have a crush on her.
At the very least, I think parents should have absolute veto power over kids.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Parenting advice, one bit.
Go.
Just know that you know nothing and you'll be a better parent than most.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
that's fair.
I don't know anything about parenting. You'll be the best parent.
I just say I figure it out as I go every single day.
Yeah.
I feel like the worst parents are parents who write books about parenting. That's been an experience that I've had before when I've read through, thumbed through different things, been like, man, your kids are going to be awful. And I say that not being the world's best parent. I had a ladybug in my head. But because once again, all of my parenting strategies and stuff have come down to, hey, so-and-so, your kids are really great, and I want my kids to be like you. How can I be a parent like you were? How can I raise kids to be like your kids? What did you do that worked?
Right.
And then I get a lot of advice, and a lot of it is, it's kid-specific, but I have a kid like this, and I did this, and whatever. And then, All right, we're already just about at time, guys. Let's do a real quick popsicle sticks, and then this has been great. It's flown by, y'all. I've really enjoyed this.
This really has,
Yeah.
I'll go first. If you could be brilliant in one area, what would it be? I could be brilliant in one area, what would it be? If the assumption is intellectually brilliant, and it has to be a subject, I don't know. I really like all things. This is going to sound cliche, but I really like all things theology, and I really like teaching morality and apologetics with kids. And I feel like if I could be super duper duper good at that, I think it'd be really cool. I teach theology of the body classes and some other theology and philosophy stuff at my school. And I feel like it's a great instrument to really change lives and help save souls. So, What you got?
Do you want to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. My question is, if you knew a priest could read your soul, would you go to confession to them, and why? And 100% I would go to confession.
Oh,
with
yeah.
them. I know that some are still growing in their faith, and that's fine. But if I could go and they know what's wrong, and then if there's something I'm holding back from, you just look, you're not telling me something, and maybe you don't know it consciously, but there's something else you need to dig. Go back out there.
That's
they would probably send me out.
That is courageous of you. I want to say I would say yes, absolutely, but I think in practice I would every now and then I get super excited about the rando priest I'm never going to see again, who everybody's one and done 90-second confessions, and I'm like,
but what if he was a rando priest that could also know your deepest, darkest secrets as soon as he knew you and really punch down to the root of
Saint
it?
Padre Pio.
Can you do it in 90 seconds?
Yes.
Okay. I've got a spiritual director I meet with once a month, and we really dig into stuff. And so a lot of times when a priest is giving me 15 minutes of, counseling in there, I'm like, okay, but I got this guy, I've been talking to him for years, and right. But no, that's the right answer is yes.
I mean, from men, I
I
respond well to just kind of the swift kick. Just this is what you need. Military background, I can't help it.
I hear it.
Yeah.
What you got, Rachel?
So actually, since we're on the subject of Southern Catholic, can I just share a real quick story real quick?
Yeah.
When I saw this, it made me think of it. So my question is, what traits draw you to people? And the answer is definitely sense of humor. But it made me remember one of my favorite Southern Catholic stories, and it's even more special to me now because he's passed away. His name was Cayetano Garcia.
Yeah. Remember Kai?
He's such a sweet guy. Like,
We'll pray for his soul.
definitely. He was very quiet, but he was so sweet. So sweet. And one of my favorite Kaye memory for sure, and one of my favorite Southern Catholic memories, period, was there was a day that I was by the pool. And I don't remember who was all there. I know one of them is my old roommate's now husband, Adam. He was one of the guys there, but there was a handful of other guys, and they were trying to push me in the pool.
Sure.
And I had my phone on me.
As you do to girls.
Yeah, absolutely. I got well, just wait. I had my phone on me, so I was freaking out. And I was like, no, I have my phone. And then somebody came and took my phone. So then I had no excuse. But I was doing a pretty good job of fending them off. And then from so you know how the cafeteria kind of opened out to like that patio where people also sat when it
feed
was
the
warm
catfish.
out. Yeah. So from all the way over there, from the side, like he didn't come from the cafeteria, he came from around the other side. I saw Kaye start walking in our direction. And he's, watching the whole time as he's walking towards the pool, these boys trying to push me in the pool. And he's just walking and walking and walking and walking. And instead of, I think he was intending to go to the chapel, but instead of going towards the chapel, he came to the other side of the pool, never stopped walking, never said a word, just picked me up and walked into the pool
with you?
With me. Did not say a word. Just observed this whole time that these boys were trying to push me in, and he's probably like, "I got it.
I can do better."
Up to me, picks me up, walks into the pool, and somebody took a picture. And
that's really cool. Do you have the picture still?
I don't have it like on my phone or with me right now, but it's on Facebook. It's
that's
from
cool.
2007, the end of my freshman spring semester, so you guys weren't there yet,
right?
But I remember it being on Facebook, the picture of him just holding me like this and stepping into the pool.
That's awesome. That's a really good story.
But so what it said, what traits draw you to people? Sense of humor,
picking you up and carrying you to the pool.
And what trait would you like to be better at? Probably being less what's the word, anxious, like more chill, so I could just enjoy things and be present and not be worrying, because then everything would be more simple and I could enjoy things more.
Oh, but simplicity is boring, y'all. This has been great. Thank you so much for being on. Julian, you're the man. Rachel, it's always a pleasure. Producer Ben, man, you're doing awesome over there. You're looking good.
Producer Ben.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for listening. It's been Honest to God on AM 1160 The Quest, Atlanta's Catholic Radio. Producer Ben,
signing off.
over and out.